Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Phuthi.
Thank you.
I can see, you're also a Soweto girl, aren't you?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
Soweto, let's hear a shout out for Soweto, guys. You could see as she was just going up the stairs, like she's running up Merafi Station or Park Station, I don't know where. That's so nice. Thank you so much for joining us, Phuthi.
Thank you
I
for
know
having
you
us.
also had a lot of meetings. You gave her time to be here,
Yes.
especially for young people. Thank you very much, and please give her a round of applause. Okay, so what did you have for breakfast?
I had
That's an easy one.
I had mutoho.
There you go.
Wamabele.
I don't think young people here know mutoho wamabele. We went out. Yeah, you know it all. Okay, that's so nice. Okay, let me ask, do you know Marvin Gaye? Oh my gosh, my son didn't know Marvin Gaye. That's incredible, but thank you so much. Now, Phuthi, you are responsible for one area at Naspers that is so critically important and so relevant for what we're doing today, Naspers Lab. And guys, I want you to visit the stands. I was there yesterday, but you have to see for yourself. I can't tell you. So tell us why inclusion is so critical to achieving Naspers objectives.
Thank you very much for the question. And actually, as I sit here, the CEO of Naspers Labs is over there, Mapule Nganya. And, you know, I'm very glad to work with someone like her who is able to really push forward on this. What we are focused on is ensuring that we provide digital skilling to young people. Now, for all of you, it's important that you know the importance of digital skilling. Having access to those skills is critical. Right now, as we sit, big organizations like Amazon are here in South Africa through AWS, but Amazon itself is focusing on coming here onto the African continent. Google is here on the African continent. Meta is here on the African continent. Naspers, homegrown, is here on the African continent. Yes. But the reality is that all of these digital organizations are here and they are looking for skills. Now, for you to be ready, you need to ensure that you have access to the digital skills. And so, Dr. Precious, we are focused on ensuring that we are providing digital skilling to young people. So young people are being digitally skilled across a number of potential roles that they can play in these. It could be to become software engineers, there's a range of digital skills that they can play. And what I'm happy about is that through Naspers Labs, they're taken through a program where within a period of time, they are then placed in employment. Mapule has formed relationships with banks, with mining houses, with various sectors within South Africa who are waiting for digitally skilled young people to be available to them. And so last year, if we just look at last year, she was able to ensure that she afforded training to, we gave her a budget for 1,500 youth. We said, Mapule, please make sure that you train 1,500 youth. But Mapule, being who she is, together with her team, she pushed them so hard, they trained 2,269 young people. And then, in addition to that, they placed within jobs 1,700 young people. Now, the reality is that you can create opportunities for young people. The sad thing, Dr. Precious, is the fact that sometimes young people come in and then they want to drop out. And you know, the things that were spoken by your husband and you know, is the importance of ensuring that you stay in there. If you listen to his messaging, it's all about ensuring that you stay, you run the course. It's not easy. He spoke about the difficulties when he started with ARM, you know, the early years to becoming this hugely successful organization. It doesn't just happen. You need to stay the course. You'll work with people who'll be rude to you. You'll work with people who'll push you down. You need to stay the course. Nobody is there to just give it to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Phuthi. I think you're right. Shelley also really emphasized that point, that you need to stay on. I always say to my young teen, Don't get off the saddle. Stay on. Hold on to your horse. Don't get off. Focus. And that's so important. But Phuthi, you began your career in finance. And I know a key theme that comes up among young people is that there's barriers to growth. I'm sure you hear this all the time from the Naspers lab. There is not enough investment in youth-led businesses in our country and globally. So what do you think needs to be done, and what is Naspers doing in that space?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So we started off by saying, let's have access to capital that entrepreneurs can have access to, where we can decide which digital businesses we're investing into. Okay. And so we set aside 1.4 billion rand through the Naspers Foundry, where we said we would invest into businesses, but we said these would be early stage businesses. Early stage is businesses which are producing revenue but are not necessarily profitable businesses. And so that is what we said we would focus on. But what we found is that here in South Africa, businesses are actually at a much lower stage in terms of development. Mm-hmm. So you need to have access to capital and support in terms of skilling for more startup type businesses. So Mapule has started an initiative where she's working with the Branson Academy, where they are providing entrepreneurial support to young people, as well as access to capital for these businesses to be able to start up. Because once you're able to at least have access to that skilling as an entrepreneur and support, as well as some capital, you are then able to at least start to scale the business. And you need to scale the business. I mean, I met some of the entrepreneurs that she works with. Once you can start scaling your business, that's when people can start taking you seriously, because now you can talk numbers. You can say that I've got a business in Pefeni, in Zola, in Pretoria, wherever. People need to see you expanding the business, but you can only do that through support. And through the Branson Academy, she's able to provide that support. Then when the businesses get to another level, grow a little bit more, then we can then, as the Naspers Foundry, start to put in a lot more capital. And that's where we are able to invest, and we typically are investing on average around 50 to 100 million, or over 100 million.
Isn't that a lot of money?
Depending on, depending on the business. Yeah. We actually thought that would be for very much startup type businesses, but in South Africa, the businesses are still early stage for very startup in the digital sector. But this is where the opportunities are, and we just need to just stay the course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Phuthi, you always speak passionately about digital skills. This is not the first time that I've heard Phuthi talking so passionately about the need for our young people to pick up on digital skills. And that's why we have so many expo booths where you can go up, sign up for those digital skills. So please, guys, don't forget to do that. But Phuthi, if I may ask you, you also co-founded an investment company called Sigma.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur yourself, what business lessons can you share with our audience?
Okay, so what I can tell you is that starting a business is no joke. And honestly, it's, so when you see people who start businesses and are able to do well, honestly, you have to clap hands fully. And I saw that. I mean, I had been involved in Shanduka, which was a business that was invested in a whole host of a number of different sectors. But then when I started my own business, that's when I saw that it's really not easy. Now, I had the good fortune of good relationships, so I was able to raise capital easily, and then on the back of that was able to then start investing into private sector non-listed businesses. And what I found is that the importance of quality of relationships, but also quality of knowledge around the sectors that you decide to invest in. So in whatever sector you decide to go into, go deep into that. Mm-hmm. study hard about that particular sector, but also nurture relationships, because relationships are also important for you to do whatever.
Sure.
You know, and so those were some of the things that I learned whilst at Sigma. But then, of course, I was then approached by Naspers, and they made it difficult for me to stay at Sigma. And so I had to leave my business to go and join the corporate, go back to corporate. But the reality is that I'm really not a true entrepreneur, because if I was, I would have stuck it out with my business and continued. That's what real entrepreneurs do. But because I think I'm more of a corporate type person, I went back to corporate and...
but there's intrapreneurship and entrepreneurship.
That's
so
very true. Thank
I'm
you.
sure
That's
you
very
can
kind.
work within that environment. And just maybe lastly, you know, I also know that you worked in New York.
Yes.
And then you came and worked in South Africa.
Correct.
What is the tempo like? You talk
Yeah.
about our entrepreneurs not really being at the level that you were hoping they would be. How do you differentiate? What's the difference between entrepreneurs in South Africa and what you've experienced in New York?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think what I found was that there was a lot more hunger. There was just a lot more hunger to achieve certain things, you know, in order to become successful in terms of your work.
Yeah.
The downside is that I found that there wasn't, as I later learned, enough of a focus on family and health, and those things are also important. And I mentioned this because having grown up and, you know, in my early years, worked in a place like New York, I thought hard work was everything, okay? And hard work is very important, and it yields tremendous results. But when you only work and you forget about family, other things that are important to you, other things happen. So I had a stroke in my early 40s, and when I... That's actually 10 years ago. Yeah. So I had a stroke, and I unfortunately also had a loss of short-term memory. And so I wasn't able to do things that I was used to doing. I used to be able to walk into a meeting and I knew exactly what I needed to do, but I didn't have that capability any longer. So I had to relearn. I would bump into people, and I knew that I knew this person, but I didn't know what their name was, if I was related to them, if I'd worked with, I had no idea. I just knew that the face looked familiar. And so I went through that for years. For years. And so I mentioned this just to bring back the fact that whilst it is important to work hard, it is important to also remember the importance of family and to look after yourself, your health, so that you can continue to do what you do successfully. But yes, the tempo between New York and here is different. I think in terms of being able to see businesses being able to scale much quicker, is really as a result to access to capital as well. There's a lot more access to capital in places like New York. There's access to people who can support you in your business. Here in places like South Africa, it's a lot less. But what I see is that certainly in the digital space, there's a lot more of us. And we are ready and waiting for you to come in, whether it's through digital skilling or entrepreneurship. Come into the digital space. This is the future.
Absolutely.
This is where you want to be. I don't care what sector you're in. The digital industry is where it's all happening. So please make sure that you are skilled in that industry in whatever way, and be able to be an active member of society.
Oh, Phuthi, thank you so much. You heard it from her. Digital skills, self-care, family, and friends. Try and find a balance in all of that. Phuthi, thank you so much. You're an absolute star.
Thank you.